Welcome, this is Heart 101 and today we'll be talking about some basic information about the human heart, its anatomy, three loops of the heart, and some diseases related to the human heart. So what is the heart? The heart is a cardiac muscle that pumps blood through the blood vessels by repeated contractions. It is located anterior to the vertebral column and posterior to the sternum. It is well known that the heart is located on the left side of our body. We know that heart is really important, and there are two things that the heart is responsible for. Number one, it is key to blood circulation, and number two, the heart provides oxygen throughout the body. Now that we have looked at some basic information about the heart, let's look at its anatomy. Here we have a really simple diagram of the heart, and in order to understand the three loops of the heart, which will be coming up, we have to understand some of the terms. One of the most important parts of the heart is the four chambers. We have the left ventricle, left atrium, right ventricle, and the right atrium. Here's the left ventricle, left atrium, right ventricle, and the right atrium. Atriums and ventricles are basically a pathway for the blood to be pumped out, either deoxygenated or oxygenated blood. In this case, the blue color represents the deoxygenated blood, while the red color represents the oxygenated blood. Now that we've looked at the anatomy of the heart, let's look at the three loops of the heart. There are pulmonary circuit, the systemic circuit, and the coronary circuit. Let's look at the coronary circuit first. The coronary circuit is when the blood flows from the heart to the muscle of the heart and its back. So it's basically the blood flow within the heart. One of the most important things of the coronary circuit is that it has its separate arteries. Arteries carry blood away from the heart, branching into smaller arteries as they approach the organs, which in this case, the heart. Through this, the heart is able to supply nutrients and oxygen to itself, so that the heart can continue to work and function. Now we've looked at one of the first three loops of the heart, the coronary circuit. Now let's look at the other two. The pulmonary circuit carries blood between the heart and the lungs, and in the lungs carbon dioxide diffuses one way, while oxygen diffuses the other way. The pulmonary circuit then returns the oxygen-rich blood to the heart. The systemic circuit carries blood between the heart and the rest of the body. It supplies oxygen and nutrients to the body tissues and organs and picks up carbon dioxide and other wastes from them. The oxygen-poor blood then returns to the heart via the systemic circuit. We'll look at how the blood flows in the heart and to the rest of the body on the next slide. Well, now let's look at the actual blood flow. Here's a little figure that shows a trip through the human cardiovascular system. As I mentioned before, the heart connected to the lungs is called the pulmonary circuit, and the heart connected to the rest of the body is called the systemic circuit. Well, let's look at the green dot, which is going to represent the red blood cell or the red blood cell, oxygenated or deoxygenated throughout the procedures. Well, first of all, the right atrium empties the deoxygenated blood from the body into the heart. And then the blood is pumped to the right ventricle, which pumps the deoxygenated blood to the lungs. And then, as the blood flows in the lungs, CO2 diffuses out of the blood and O2 diffuses into the blood. The newly oxygenated blood flows through the pulmonary veins to the left atrium of the heart. Well, that's the end of the pulmonary circuit. Now we're going to move on to the systemic circuit. First of all, the blood is pumped a short distance from the left atrium to the left ventricle. And then the blood leaves the left ventricle through the aorta, leading to various tissues, like in this case the brain, or if you look at the number 8 on the bottom, or the feet, or any other organs. And then the deoxygenated blood is channeled through a superior and inferior vena cava, which is just a fancy term for a really big blood vessel. Well, that's the end of the systemic circuit, so that the green dot, which represents again the red blood cell, is returned to the heart so that it can start from step number 10 as shown in the diagram and go back to number 1. The heart-related diseases. First of all, the pulmonary embolism. The pulmonary embolism is basically the blockage of main artery of the lung, as shown with the yellow mark on the picture. With the blockage of main artery of the lung, the heart will not be able to carry out the pulmonary circuit, which means that it will have trouble connecting the lung and the heart with the flow of blood, with deoxygenated blood and deoxygenated blood. This disease is usually caused by high cholesterol food such as bacon and oil. Next up, we have the stroke. Well, the stroke is another word for a cerebrovascular accident, and it's basically a rapid loss of brain function due to disturbance of blood distribution to the brain. Well, there are two types of strokes. Number one is called ischemic stroke. It's where the area of the brain is deprived of blood. The second type of stroke is called a hemorrhagic stroke, which means because of the cut of the blood vessel, there's an area of bleeding in the brain. Last but not least, we have the heart attack. The heart attack is another name for myocardial infarction. It's basically an interruption of blood supply to a part of the heart, causing heart cells to die. Looking at the figure to the left, there are blood clots and cholesterol plaques, which are the main examples of clotting the artery and preventing blood flow to the heart. With the heart attack, you may end up like the guy here. Well, that's the end of our presentation, and thank you for watching.